Liam Lawson's Formula One future has become one of the most interesting questions in the paddock because he has already experienced both sides of the Red Bull system. He got the promotion that so many young drivers dream about. 2 races at Red Bull Racing at the start of 2025, then it was over. He was sent back to Racing Bulls and people immediately started asking the same question. Was that his one chance, or was it simply the wrong car at the wrong time? Now, after a strong 2026 season and an impressive return to the Red Bull car at Zandvoort, that question is back. Can Liam Lawson build a real future away from Racing Bulls? Could he follow the Alex Albon route, recover from a difficult Red Bull spell and become a key driver for another team? And if he does move, where could he realistically go? First, we need to be fair about what happened at Red Bull in 2025. Lawson was promoted after a handful of substitute appearances for AlphaTauri and Racing Bulls. He was thrown into the main Red Bull team alongside Max Verstappen for the first 2 races of the season. He struggled in qualifying, did not score points, and Red Bull replaced him with Yuki Tsunoda. But Lawson has since explained something important. Those were 2 circuits he had never raced at, and he said he did not feel he had enough time to form a proper opinion about that Red Bull car. At Zandvoort, he got another chance because Isack Hadjar was injured. Lawson stepped into the RB22, qualified well, and finished 7th. That was his best result in a Red Bull car. After the weekend, he said, "I feel like I got more comfortable in this car in a weekend than he did during the 2 races in 2025. That does not erase those difficult races, but it shows why judging a driver after 2 weekends can be dangerous. Lawson has rebuilt his reputation with results. Lawson has been one of the strongest midfield drivers in 2026. Before Zandvoort, he was 9th in the championship and had helped Racing Bulls fight near the front of the midfield, but rookie teammate Arvid Lindblad has been extremely close. Lawson leads their fair qualifying head-to-head 6-5, but on average, Lindblad has been 0.017 seconds quicker. That is nothing in Formula One, but it matters because Lindblad is in his first full season. Racing Bulls team principal Alan Permani calls them 2 quick guys who are incredibly close in performance. That is good for the team, but it makes Lawson's future more complicated. Lawson is doing enough to deserve a seat. The question is whether he is doing enough to make Red Bull see him as a future top team driver again. And this is where the Alex Albon comparison becomes interesting. Albon had more time at Red Bull, scored podiums but struggled to match Verstappen consistently. Williams then gave him a chance. He rebuilt his career by leading a project, scoring points and working well with engineers, and Williams has now confirmed him for 2027. Lawson could absolutely follow that kind of path, but it would not be a copy of Albon's story. Albon had a full season and a half at Red Bull. Lawson had 2 races. Albon left the Red Bull system and found a long-term home at Williams. Lawson is still part of the Red Bull family, and that could either help him or limit him depending on what Red Bull decides. So does Lawson need to leave Racing Bulls in order to make progress? Not necessarily. People talk about Racing Bulls as if it is only a waiting room. Sometimes it is, but right now it is also one of the strongest midfield teams. The team is 5th in the Constructors' Championship, and Lawson says its development has been by far the strongest he has seen there. He has been happy with the car, its upgrades have worked, and he is driving in an environment where the team understands him. For a driver trying to rebuild confidence after a difficult Red Bull experience, that is valuable. A good 2027 at Racing Bulls could help more than a rushed move to a weaker team. If he becomes its established leader, he could be in a stronger position for 2028. Max Verstappen has just committed to Red Bull through 2030. Isack Hadjar is expected to keep the other Red Bull seat after his strong season. Behind Lawson and Lindblad, Nicolas Solov is leading Formula 2 and has been described by Permane as next in line. That is a lot of pressure inside one driver program. Lawson's best route outside the Red Bull system could be Haas. Haas is the one team where a real decision is coming. Oliver Bearman is expected to stay unless Ferrari needs him. Esteban Ocon is not officially out, but his future is under scrutiny after being comfortably outscored by Bearman this season. Ayao Komatsu has said the team is not in a rush, but it is clearly looking at its options. Lawson would bring F1 experience, calm under pressure and potential leadership beside Bearman. Haas may prefer that to another rookie. But there is no confirmed Lawson to Haas contact. It is a logical fit, not a reported deal. What about Aston Martin? This is much more speculative. Fernando Alonso has not formally confirmed 2027, but if he stays, Aston Martin probably keeps its current pairing. If he retires, the seat would attract many drivers. There is no credible report linking Lawson directly to Aston Martin. Tsunoda is mentioned more often because of Honda. Lawson to Aston Martin is possible only in the broadest sense. A top driver retires, a seat becomes available, and Aston Martin decides Lawson is the right person. That is several big steps, not a move that is close to happening. Alpine is another possible route. Gasly is signed through 2028 and Colapinto is unconfirmed, but Lawson has no reported link. It simply fits the profile of a team that could value his experience. Alpine would be a fresh works team project, but there is no sign it is searching for him. Racing Bulls remains the most likely 2027 home. Haas is the most believable outside option. Aston Martin is an interesting dream scenario, but not something we should treat as a real rumour today. And what about another Red Bull chance? Zandvoort helped Lawson, finishing 7th in the senior car while Verstappen retired, reminded people that he can handle the pressure of being called up at short notice. He also looked much more comfortable in the RB22 than in the car he drove in 2025. But one good weekend does not automatically put him ahead of Hadjar. Red Bull has a clear long-term plan around Verstappen. Hadjar has done enough to look safe. The senior Red Bull route is not impossible for Lawson, but it is not the obvious next step either. This is why I would not describe Lawson as a driver whose career is in danger. He is only 24, he is producing good results, and he has shown resilience after a public setback. Plenty of drivers would have struggled after being dropped so quickly. Lawson has responded by becoming one of the more reliable midfield performers on the grid. The real decision is not whether he belongs in Formula One. The decision is whether Red Bull gives him another year at Racing Bulls, whether it releases him to pursue a better long-term project elsewhere, or whether an outside team decides he is worth taking before that. If you were Lawson, what would you choose? Stay at Racing Bulls and try to become the team leader, take a Haas opportunity if it appeared, or wait for a bigger chance that may never come? Alex Albon's story proves that a difficult Red Bull spell does not end a career, but it also proves that the next move has to be the right one. Lawson has recovered well. Now he needs to turn that recovery into a future that is not defined by two bad weekends in 2025.